We're back during Brandon Talking Sports, Friday, 12:43 p.m. Brandon, how's it going?
Good. Good. I was, I was talking about the games last night. There was no NBA games last night, but, we were talking about it. Like, it's just a great time for sports right now. We're going to talk the draft. Some surprising picks, some guys who fell. Some teams did really well. Other teams did not do well. Our two teams probably didn't do the best out of all the teams, but it was an exciting draft. I think it was maybe a little bit better than we were expecting it to be. I think we were expecting this to be a really boring draft. I think it was a little bit better than that. We had a big trade, too, that we'll talk about. But it was a fun draft. And, again, if you haven't seen our live reaction to that, it's on the second channel. So check that out if you want to see our live reactions. We saw live reactions to our own picks, but then also talking about the earlier picks from that night, from that night. So it wasn't a couple days later. It was exactly our reaction. So go check that out.
Yeah, so and also if you want to hear our reactions to our own teams, that should be on the second channel. If not, it will be at some point. But that full reaction, we'll talk about it a little bit today. But we'll start with, I think, maybe the biggest trade that night, which was the A.J. Brown trade. Obviously, A.J. Brown gets traded from the Titans to the Eagles. The Titans look like they're going to be under something, right? I mean, I'm not going to say they're not blowing it up or anything, but there's been rumors about Tannehill. Obviously, I don't think Tannehill is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I don't know if you do, but probably not. But what's your thoughts on the A.J. Brown trade? Is there a winner?
Well, I guess if I had to pick a winner, I guess it would be the Eagles because you are getting an established Pro Bowl level player. Even though I don't love A.J. Brown, to be honest, but just in terms of the Titans, yeah, I think they're still looking to be competitive for this year. They're still a playoff team. Again, you're in a weaker division, so you're going to get wins. You'll most likely make the playoffs, at least be fighting for one of those last couple seeds if you don't win your division against the Colts. But again, they draft Malik Willis, they trade A.J. Brown, they cut Julio Jones. Like they're for sure shaping up to be like, all right, if we don't win this year, we're going straight into Malik Willis time. Younger guys, cutting older guys, getting rid of money. So I think it's a smart move. I think it's smart when teams do that because you have a backup plan in case things don't work out. Because again, they're not a great team, so I think it makes sense. But just in terms of the trade, again, it was the Eagles got A.J. Brown. They traded the 18th pick and the 101st pick. They signed him to a 4-year, $100 million deal that was $57 million guaranteed. Again, I think he's a good receiver. Is he a number one receiver? I don't think so. I think he's a really solid number 2, and I think at times can play like a low-end 1. But again, him and Devonta Smith, we'll see what happens with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was good last year. He wasn't great, but maybe this helps out getting another receiver like that. But again, injuries have always been a concern with him as well. So I think it was a trade you had to make, but I don't know how much I love the player.
Yeah, I think I'd go the Titans are the winners in this trade. I don't like A.J. Brown, really. I agree with you. I think at best he's like a low-end number 1.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty inconsistent. He's not injury-prone necessarily, but I don't trust he's going to stay on the field 17 games a year for 10 more seasons. And also, you're going to have to pay. You're paying him a buttload. So one of the best things about about a first-round pick is you're getting a guy who has a pretty high success rate to be good, pretty high chance to be really good. You also get to pay him nothing for 4 years and then probably underpay him year 5.
Yeah.
This trade, you're getting a certified guy, which is good for the Eagles because they can't draft receivers for the life of them, other than maybe Devonta Smith, but we don't know yet. And he may not be good. I don't know, but you have to pay him a bunch. You don't really get the advantage of that rookie contract, which I think is unfortunate because you would like to. But I would go the Titans as the winners. I think it's kind of like not a win-win, not a lose-lose, but like a meh trade in a way for both of them. But the reason I go the Titans as the winners is because I think they're maybe starting to realize what I've realized for literally a long time with them now is you're not winning a Super Bowl with Derrick Henry as your best player at that position and then Ryan Tannehill as that quarterback. You can go on a really special run like they did, but that's as far as you're going as the AFC Championship game. Even last year you were the 1 seed. You played the regular season perfectly. You get the 1 seed. You sack Joe Burrow 9 times, and you still lose that game because you just don't have the quarterback to get it done. I think they kind of realize that now. I don't think they love Willis, but I think it's worth taking a shot on a guy like Willis in the 3rd round. I'm completely fine with that. And I think they're kind of starting to retool. Like, They don't know. I mean, they don't want to pay AJ Brown, which I think is fine. I think it makes sense because he's like a low end number one at best, who has maybe some injury concerns and also just consistency concerns in general. And I think hopefully, unless things go well, which I hope they do for them, but probably not, in my opinion. They kind of start to retool. They see where they're at with Derrick Henry. They see, where can we improve? And I think hopefully they can transform from a team that's like a ground and pound team that's like not really a team that's a threat in the playoffs, and like maybe they're always going to be a good seed with that type of style, in my opinion, barring injuries. But they're going to be that team that's like, if I'm a wild card team, I want to go to Tennessee to play them because I don't want to go to Arrowhead. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, like last year was honestly the Titans' year, because if you had a guy even just slightly better than Tannehill, you beat the Bengals, and then you get, obviously the Chiefs are still the Chiefs, but the Chiefs had like a down week essentially, right? So like that's like that was your path, and the Bengals took it right from you. So I think you have to look at yourselves after that year and be like, wow, I mean, we kind of played that whole thing perfectly, and we still came up short because the way our team is built, it just isn't built for playoff success. So I would go the Titans as the winners of this trade, but ultimately I think it's kind of like a meh. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't say the Eagles won this trade. I think that the Titans they made out with a good compensation, but they got a hit on that pick too. So
yeah. And again, I've seen the thing like AJ Brown. He's played in 43 or 49 games, but there's been so many games where he's left because he's injured, or he like plays a couple snaps and he's done or whatever. Like, he's only missed 6 games in his career, but it's really probably like 15 to be honest. It's just in terms of like always on the injury report, don't know if he's going to play. If he does play, he's limited. He's playing limited snaps. He's coming out of games. So that's for sure a question. Again, he's 24 years old and he's already having injury concerns basically every single year of his career. And like you said, with the 18th pick, they took Treylon Burks, who you were very high on. He was like the last receiver kind of left of those guys that all went.
I think he'll be better than Drake London. I do. So, and
yeah.
London went 8th.
And again, I like that pick too. Again, you're getting a guy on a rookie deal, like you said. And again, first-round pick, you have that 5th-year option. So again, you can have 5 years of a first-round wide receiver who could be putting up very similar stats to A.J. Brown. And again, with a guy like Tannehill or even Willis, like if it turns to him in maybe a year or two, like Treylon Burks not the same receiver as A.J. Brown. So it's good. It's just, I think it's a different style, and I think it works for them. Because again, it's going to be through Henry, but you need receivers and you need quarterbacks for them. And we'll see how it works out. Again, I'm not a huge fan of A.J. Brown, but if he can stay healthy, he's for sure a really good player. But again, if you have to preface a sentence by saying if he can stay healthy, that usually means he's not going to stay healthy. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, around the draft, I mean, other teams, like, give me like 2 winners that you thought won this draft.
I think it's the New York teams. I think it's the Giants and the Jets. I think for sure they won the draft. Just going through, I'll start Giants. They get Kayvon Thibodeau at 5, and they get Evan Neal at 7. I think those are great picks. I mean, to get Kayvon at 5, again, it looked like they were going to offensive line 5 when the draft was starting, but the way the draft went with 2 corners going 3-4, that means you had your pick of Ekwonu or Neal at 7. Because obviously they were 5, Carolina was 6, and then they were 7 again. So it worked out perfectly for them. They got an edge rusher, which is what they've needed for multiple years now, and they got another tackle to go with Andrew Thomas. So Evan Neal's going to play right tackle. Thomas will be your left tackle. You couldn't ask for better positions at better spots in a draft. You need edge rushers and you need tackles to have a championship caliber team. Now again, is there a championship caliber team? No. Is there a playoff team? Probably not. But that's what you need for building a foundation for when you do get that quarterback, which obviously they want to be next year. The Jets, they get Sauce Gardner at 4. Great pick. Again, most people had him going to the Jets anyways. I didn't think it was going to be 4, but again, they still got him at 4. Then they get Garrett Wilson at 10, and then they trade back into the first round to get Jermaine Johnson, who, again, he was slipping for a reason, but it's still a really good pass rusher in the ACC coming from Florida State. There's got to be something there. Again, with Saleh, you would think that something's going to work out. But I think those are all home run picks. And that's just the first round. We're not even talking about the rest of the draft. So I think those are great picks.
So I will say, I believe I was right on the Sauce Gardner mock. I believe I mocked him at 4 to the Jets, right?
Yeah, I think you did.
I believe I did.
I had him 10 to the Jets.
So in the draft, that's hard to predict. At least I got something right. Anyways, my 2 winner teams, I would agree on the Jets. I think they just had an insanely good first round. I mean, I said I loved Sauce Gardner. Garrett Wilson at 10. Listen, if Garrett Wilson's in next year's draft, is he going to go 10 overall? Probably not, but I think you made what you could out of that pick, and I think Garrett Wilson's one of, if not the best receivers in this class. And then Jermaine Johnson at 26. We talked about why we don't really know exactly why he's falling, and obviously he did fall. I think that's a good value pick, and I think that's what you look for in a draft, especially from a team that's just not going to compete in the next probably 2 years at least. So my second winner, I'm going to go the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens, listen, we'll see how great Kyle Hamilton turns out to be. Is the safety position the most important position in football? Probably not, but I think it's an important position and arguably an underrated one because everybody thinks it's like not as important as like a middle linebacker or an edge rusher. When I think if you have a great player there, he's a great player. I think some of the reason maybe even Jamal Adams ruined the stock of the safety position, and I think maybe some of it is because he's actually not that great. Like he's great in spots, but he's a risk taker and he's a guy that can look like the best player on the field at times. And then it can also be like, okay, this guy just gave up 7 points and we also turned the ball over, and that led to that 7 points, 14-point swing, and we're looking at Jamal Adams as a big reason as to why that 14-point swing happened. So, but anyways, I think Kyle Hamilton at 14 is a guy that, again, people had as a top 5 player in the draft, like, you know, regardless of position. So I think that's a great value. Linderbaum at 25. Listen, you trade Marquise Brown. I think that's a win. I think he's I don't know about overrated. He's not very good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think Linderbaum, listen, I don't love the pick, but I don't hate it either. I think it's good, and if I think he's a surefire thing to be a good center. So, and I think is the first round pick a little bit high to pay for that, maybe, but and I love the Ojabo pick at 45 overall though. I think that's a guy that some people may even say he's better than Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, they played side by side essentially in Michigan, torn Achilles, so I don't know when exactly he's going to be back, but that's another just value pick. It's a pick that's like, again, if it wasn't for some sort of concern with injury or position or value, it's like this guy probably is a mid to high first rounder if he's like no injury concerns ready to go. And then Travis Jones in the third round is a guy that I don't know too much about, but a guy that has been deemed to be another great value pick because he probably should have gone way earlier in the draft and he fell down to 76. So I'm not going to tell you I know a bunch about Travis Jones, but I can tell you that I think they had a really solid first 4 picks, and I have them as one of my winners. I think the Giants are also, like, if I was going to extend it to 3, I'd consider them to be in my third spot. So I would agree with the Giants as a winner as well.
Yeah,
so.
And Ojabo, they said he may be ready for October, November. It seems like torn Achilles injuries aren't 12-month injuries anymore. It seems like they're 6 to 9-month injuries, and it seems like torn ACLs are like 6 months injury. Like, it doesn't seem like these injuries anymore are that long-term absences that they used to be. Again, that's just an early report. It's only May. Who knows what could happen? But they said everything's been great so far, and they expect him to return October, November. Now, is he going to have a huge impact year 1? Probably not, but probably year 2 for sure. Again, he was a top 15 pick if he didn't get injured, so that's great value at 46. Linderbaum, again, getting a center in the first round may not seem like a great pick because center is probably the least best position on the offensive line. But you look at centers who have gone in the first round in the past. I mean, Creed Humphrey last year from Kansas City, he was one of the best centers in the league, if not the best center in the league last year. Travis Frederick from the Cowboys, this was a couple years ago, obviously now, but if he didn't obviously have his disease issue that he had, he was going to the Hall of Fame. I mean, he just was. I mean, he was a Pro Bowl, All Pro basically every single year. So it may not be a great pick. Obviously, you want to tackle, if anything, a guard, but obviously you want to tackle. But centers can work out. Centers are usually the most stable guys if you can get the right one. And Linderbaum, he was the best all center basically throughout his college career. So that's a good pick in my mind.
No, I mean, I agree. And I guess like it's similar to Hamilton. It's similar to Ojabo. It's similar to Travis Jones. It's like there's maybe a slight concern, a concern that really shouldn't be a concern as to why they're slipping in the draft. And I think they kind of look at it and say, yeah, he plays center, so what? He's a top 10 player, we think, in this class, and if we get a guy that's similar to like a guy like Travis Frederick, who's like, a perennial All-Pro, I mean, yeah, it's at center. It's not the best position in the world, but I mean, it's still huge. So an All-Pro center is humongous. I mean,
yeah, I mean, so. You get to just think of some all this, like Jeff Saturday. It's like, it's a center. It's not like he's like, he doesn't have to block really that many people. He's kind of getting help all the time and stuff. But like, you're like the commander of the offense besides the quarterback. You're calling out reads, you're calling out formations, you're doing everything on that line. So I think it's a very important position, to be honest. Again, is it as important as tackle? Probably not, or for sure not. But I think it's very important. If you have a solid center, that's just one position on the line you don't have to worry about, which I think is the main goal for every team. You have 5 positions on the line. If you can only have to worry about 4 of them, then I think that's a win. So I think that's a good pick. And again, he should work out. He's a really good center.
Yeah, but those would be my 2 draft winners. I mean, if we want to talk 2 losers, I would very much consider picking both of our teams. So
I think I would too.
I mean, I know for sure I would pick my team. I would for sure pick the Patriots. My second loser, I mean, I don't know. I have to think of somebody that isn't the Cowboys. Maybe the Steelers, because I don't know if Kenny Pickett at 20 is great, especially looking at how far Malik Willis fell. Yeah, I mean, maybe the Falcons because I'm not a Drake London guy. But if you are a Drake London guy, then it's not a horrible pick. I'll go Falcons Patriots. I don't really like Drake London at all. To me, the 8 pick for a guy that's ceiling is Mike Evans, I don't think is a great value because I just don't love Mike Evans that much. And I also don't think this guy's going to be as good as Mike Evans is anyways, but I don't love the play style of receiver. I don't think it works for the vast majority of quarterbacks in this league. So, and the 8th pick is I mean, that's your season right there, right? Like you're bad, you give up on the season, you get the 8th pick. That's like you just suffered through a whole football year of being bad for the 8th pick, and you spend it on a guy that I don't like. So that's why I have to go with you as a loser. And the Patriots, it's just like pathetic, right? I mean, I don't even know where to start. Cole Strange, I don't care if he's good or if he's not, right? I mean, to me, I just guard at 29. And we talked about Linderbaum, but I think it's a horrible offense here because Linderbaum's been the guy that's like been mocked in the first round. Cole Strange is a guy that probably doesn't even go in the second, and even if he does, like I don't know. I don't think he's a guy that's like you're gonna be, dang, I wish we had Cole Strange. For me, for this pick to be worth it, he pretty much has to be like a perennial All-Pro, because we traded Shaq Mason, who was a really good guard. And we were paying him a little bit of money, but we weren't paying him like incredible money. We traded him away for a 5th round pick. So we traded a really good guard away for a 5th round pick to take a guard in the 1st round who may not even be as good as Shaq Mason. So he has to be at least a top 5 guard in the league from the rookie season for me to be like, this was 100% worth it. So, and I don't even know if he's going to be that. He could be complete garbage. And even if he is good, I can always just still say there's no way you should have taken him at 29. So they better love Cole Strange. That's all I'm saying. He better be great, because if he's not, they're the losers of this draft. And they also had some other bad picks. I mean, Tyquan Thornton, like, I don't know. Listen, I'm not going to tell you I know a bunch about him as a player, but I can tell you the Patriots draft, history at receiver is about as bad as it gets. I don't think they've had a good pick at receiver almost ever. So I'm already a little bit worried about that. I mean, if you talk about the last like high pick the Patriots spent at receiver, N'Keal Harry, a bust, and that was the draft with a bunch of receivers that turned out to be insanely good. That was the draft with AJ Brown and DK Metcalf. So Terry McLaurin. There was a lot of good receivers in that draft. Almost all of them at least were okay, except for N'Keal Harry. I mean, that was where Marquise Brown was too in that draft. He went in that draft too. So I don't love Marquise Brown, but he for sure would have been better than N'Keal Harry. So yeah, I don't know. I have the Patriots as loser of the draft. I have them as like a loser franchise now. Like, I don't even know what to say. They're a franchise now that like used to be a trustworthy franchise. I don't know if that's the case anymore. And I have no idea where Bill was going with that pick. So I have him as a loser of the draft.
Yeah, I have the Patriots as one of my losers. I think the Cowboys, look, they didn't have a great draft. The first couple picks I didn't think were great. Again, they could have got Tyler Smith later. Sam Williams is a good player, but he's a bad pass and just off the field stuff. And I feel like you maybe could have got someone else. But I think they did have some okay picks towards the end. You got Damon Clark from LSU in the 5th round. Like, he's going to miss his rookie year. That was already known. But, like, he's a really good player. I think if he can get healthy, like, that's a really good pick in the 5th round. They got a receiver from South Alabama, Jalen Tolbert in the 3rd round. I think that was a decent pick. Again, they kind of needed another receiver. So I think they had a couple decent picks towards the end, but my other loser than the Patriots would be the Cardinals. Didn't have a 1st-round pick. They went Trey McBride in the 2nd round, which, really good tight end.
Well, they
really
didn't have a
player.
1st-round pick. They traded a 1st-round pick for Marquise Brown. So essentially they drafted Marquise Brown in the 1st.
Yeah, which again,
It's horrible. I agree.
yeah.
So.
But again, they just re-signed Zach Ertz, so you're drafting Trey McBride in the second round. It's just a kind of weird pick. Again, obviously he's younger, whatever, rookie contract. He could have more upside, but you just re-signed Zach Ertz. That's kind of weird, to be honest. Again, they sacrificed a first-round pick for Hollywood Brown. It's just I didn't love their draft. I just didn't think they had great picks. And again, when you're in a tough situation with Kyler Murray in his contract situation, you probably needed a really good draft to like put more confidence in him to want to stay here. Again, I think he's gonna stay here and whatever, and they're gonna work it out. But like if they have another tough year, there's not again. DeAndre Hopkins is suspended for 6 games now. They knew that when they traded for Marquise Brown. That's why they traded for him. You maybe could have drafted another receiver, or like another weapon offensively, a running back, or something. I don't know. They're in a tough situation right now.
I agree. I think their roster's looking a little weird, and I think the trade for Marquise Brown is a trade that I don't even know if he's good. Like, and you're trading a first-round pick for him.
Yeah. Which
I don't know. Like, I think the Ravens, that's so lucky, by the way, that you can draft a guy like Marquise Brown, a guy that's just not a good draft pick in the first round, and you can trade him 3 years later for a first. That's ridiculous. That is so lucky. I wish that the Patriots had that type of luck with a trade.
Yeah, and again, that was pick number 23 that they traded. Again, those receivers wouldn't have been there. All the receivers were gone. But again, maybe you trade up. Maybe one of the guys does fall. Yeah, maybe you trade back and you get some more picks. And then you can take someone a little bit later. Like,
or you just take somebody else that isn't a receiver, and you just live with the fact that, okay, maybe we have to take a receiver in the 3rd round or something, but at least we didn't trade our 23rd overall pick for Marquise Brown, who's like a borderline wide receiver too, probably not even that.
And I believe he's in a walk year, so I guess they will exercise his 5th-year option, but like, they're gonna have to pay him if they want to keep. If you don't pay him, then what was the point of trade? You just traded a first-round pick for nothing.
For sure.
That means you have to pay him. Which you're probably not going to want to do because he's going to want.
And he's going to want money now. He's going to want a lot of money.
That's the reason why
he's got a lot of leverage now.
Yeah, that's the reason why he wanted to get out of Baltimore, because like their offense is running backs and tight ends, where receivers aren't really going to do much. So he wanted to get out of there because he wanted a big contract. If he has a big year with Murray, or just shows flashes, whatever, can put up like about 1,000 yards, maybe 7 touchdowns. Again, DeAndre Hopkins won't be there for the 6 games, so he's going to have a lot of production. You would think. He's going to want a big contract. And again, you're not going to want to sign him to that contract.
He doesn't even have to play that well. Like, if he just plays like how he has in Baltimore, which is like still disappointing, he's got so like if you traded a 3rd-round pick for Marquise Brown, you can cut ties with a 3rd-round pick and say, all right, it was worth a shot, but he didn't really work out. We're going to let him walk. You traded a 1st-round pick for this guy. Let's say he has 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, about maybe a little bit more with Hopkins being out, but doesn't really look all that great. I mean, I think he's going to say, all right, I want top 20 wide receiver money.
He's for sure going to say that.
And he's probably not even a top 40 or 50 receiver. I'm almost guaranteeing he's not. He's definitely not a consistent top 40, top 50 receiver. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a horrible trade. I think the Cardinals, I mean, they dodged a bullet by not trying to re-sign Christian Kirk for 4 years, $72 million. But
yeah.
I mean, that bullet, the dodge was, by the way, it was a very slow and big bullet, so it's not impressive they dodged that, not trying to re-sign him for that money. But to me, trading for Marquise Brown, giving up a 1st-round pick isn't as bad as that, probably not as embarrassing, but it's still a bad look in my opinion. So I would agree, and honestly, maybe that's a team I should put on my losers list, but I'll stick with Falcons and Patriots.
I think Falcons were up there. Again, Cowboys were up there. I think there was a good amount of teams at the bottom of that list that you could make as a loser for this draft. But yeah, I think that again, this is how every draft works. There's a couple winners, big winners, and there's a couple losers who just like weird. Like it's weird. Like you go into a draft and it's just like, why are you reaching on this guy? It's like he's going to be available in the 2nd or 3rd round, but you still want to reach for him in the 1st round. Like even if you don't love anyone else in the 1st round, you could trade back, or you could take someone who may not be as high on your board, but it's like wow, he's still here at 24, 25. Like, we just got to take him. Like even if it doesn't fit a need, even if it's not a position that like can really help us right now, it's like you just got to take that guy. Like it's just weird how teams just like do weird things on draft day. It just doesn't make. It's like I guess that's their plan, but it's like, why is that your plan if that's what you're doing on draft day? And again, for teams like, the Patriots, Cowboys. The Cowboys have always been really good at drafting. They've had a couple bad drafts. I think 2019 when they took like Tristan Hill in the 2nd round. That was a terrible draft. But they've had pretty good drafts, obviously having Pro Bowl level players. Besides the Chiefs, the Cowboys have had the most Pro Bowl players drafted since 2012. So clearly they're good at drafting. But again, they just do weird things. Some teams just do really weird things on draft day, and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's crazy. The Patriots, other than Mac Jones, who's not, I'm not going to consider Mac Jones a Pro Bowler last year, but I think technically it goes down in the books as a Pro Bowl year.
Yeah, it was.
Before that, it was Jamie Collins in 2013, and that's accounting for the fact that Pro Bowl is like the participation award of the NFL. Like that's like everybody and their mom makes the Pro Bowl. So it's incredible how bad we are at drafting. But I think that's that. And honestly, I mean, we talk about the winners and losers. We'll probably look back at it at 3 years, and it's probably the losers are probably going to be teams we didn't mention. The winners are probably going to be teams that we didn't mention. But
yeah,
I mean, that's just how the draft goes. We'll see. We'll react in 2 or 3 years, and we'll figure out what's going on. But I guess we'll talk NBA unless you want to talk anything else about the draft.
No, Judge. We'll go to NBA.
So I mean, the series are looking interesting right now. I mean, we can start. Do you want to start Celtics or no? Do you want to start?
I think
else?
let's start with tonight's games, just because they're tonight's games. So tonight's games are Heat at 76ers, Suns at Mavs. We'll start with Heat Sixers. Again, Embiid's missed the first 2 games. They said he's out for this game. That may change depending on before the game, but I would say he's probably not playing this game. And then, you know what? If he does, I don't think it matters. They're going to lose the series, all right? I picked them to lose this series when we did our playoff bracket. I had them losing to the Heat anyways. I think I had in like 7 games, though. But that's not going to happen. But they're not as good as the Heat, even with Embiid. But Harden, I mean, we could talk about that trade with Simmons. And again, it hasn't worked out for the Nets, but it's not working out for the Sixers. You're going to have to pay this guy. Like, if you want to keep him on your team, you're going to have to pay him $50+ million a year, which I don't see how you could possibly do that. He's not even close to the same player he ever was. He's honestly a bad player, to be honest. And that's a problem for them. So they're going to lose the series, even if they win Game 3, if they win Game 4. They lose tonight, they win Game 4. They're going to lose the series. So the Heat will be in the Eastern Conference Finals, and the Sixers are going to have a lot of questions going into the offseason.
Yeah, I agree. It honestly sucks because I think, I mean, this series to me is over. I agree. I've got Heat advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think I had that in our bracket as well. I think I also had the 76ers losing in the first round, but I think we essentially have the Eastern Conference Finals on the other side of the bracket for the Eastern Conference. And I think that's Celtics Bucks. I think whatever team wins that series is going to the finals. I might be wrong, but that's my opinion. I for sure think the Sixers are done, and I think they're in a tough spot because honestly, I think if you're a Sixers fan, if they lose a series, you might be wishing they lost in the first round. Because that makes stuff a lot easier. It makes it a lot easier to not pay Harden. Makes it a lot easier to even maybe debate getting rid of Doc Rivers if you don't think it's working out.
Yeah, because the excuse they can use is that Embiid missed the 2 games, 3 games. It's like, we have Doc Rivers as our head coach. Get a new head coach, Embiid healthy, free agency, get some depth players back. It's like that's the excuse that they'll want to use and that they probably will use, but this team's just not a good team. It just isn't. Again, Maxi's a good 3, but he's very inconsistent, to be honest. And Embiid, if he's not healthy, like, you don't have a team with Harden as your second best player. So,
yeah, I would agree, and I think it's Bias Harris trade / signing is like he's still a max contract player, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know. I think that team's got a lot of questions. I think they're in a very tough spot. I don't even think the Sixers will re-sign Harden. Like, I think, I don't know. I don't know if maybe he'll opt in. I don't know. He's got a player option, so maybe he will opt in.
I would assume he'd opt in because there's just no way he'd ever make that kind of money.
I think he might. I mean, I don't know. Not from the Sixers, but.
Yeah, maybe not. If a team were to do that, that'd be crazy. I mean, he's just not close to the player he ever was.
I think he will opt in because I think the Sixers are the place where he has the best chance to win while also getting paid.
Yeah.
But if he opted out, I do think that you will have like your not Houston Rockets, but like your team that's not very good that has never had a big name free agent offering a good amount of money.
Yeah, maybe,
I think
maybe like a Pistons or like a bad team, like a stupid team that does stupid stuff.
Yeah. We'll say, all right, we've never had a big name. This guy's going to sell tickets. We'll toss you 3 years for the max.
Yeah.
He may take it because he may be like, you know what? I don't care about rings, which I think is bad. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. But I guess we're both settled on that series, and we think Heat and I don't know, maybe gentleman's sweep, but we don't see this being like a real series.
No.
The other game later tonight is Suns at Mavs. This is kind of a similar series. I mean, the Suns have looked pretty good the first 2 games. The Mavericks have looked inept, except for Luka, and even Luka at times has looked inept. I think this is, listen, I think throughout Luka's career, who do you want if you can have one player under 25 / like player that's super young? Who do you want it to be? It's been Luka for the past like 2 or 3 years, undoubtedly, pretty much. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
This is the first year where I think you can legitimately make an argument you wouldn't take Luka for a player under 25. I think you are you going to make that argument right now or no?
I wouldn't agree with that.
I think this is the first year where you can argue Ja. No? Yes or
no? But I think maybe for this year, but I think the concerns that we have
and I think you can argue Tatum. I might even argue Tatum right now.
I think you can argue Tatum, but I think Luka will be again, well, what you said about the series, I mean, he's averaging 40 in the series.
He's playing well. My only thing is he's a complete liability on the defensive end.
Okay, but there's a lot of guys who are like that.
And listen, is Steph is kind of that same way. And I think Luka's a better defensive player than Steph, and he will be, especially if Luka gets some help on this team, so he doesn't have to exert as much offensively. But players that are inept defensively, they have a tough time, barring a really well-built team around them, being a consistent Western Conference, Eastern Conference final contender. Whereas players that can do everything and also get your team involved, even if the team's not great around you, they have a lot easier time getting to the playoffs and doing something in the playoffs. I think I probably still go. Okay, this is where I'm gonna have to just come in with a little bit of a hot. I'm gonna have to go Tatum over Luka now. If we're doing the players under 25 that you're taking for the rest of the career thing, remember back in like 2015 that was like Cat technically of that NBA survey or whatever. But for the past 3 or 4 years, it's pretty much since Luka played the first game in his career, it's been Luka, undoubtedly. And if you say anything other than that, you were looked at as stupid. I'm changing it. I think this series is making me seriously consider. It's like listen. I'm not expecting Luka to win the series or anything. This series is already over. It's clearly over, in my opinion.
I'm just confused how this series is making you come to this realization, though.
Because
what has he done? I mean, Brunson's been awful. Dinwiddie's done nothing. Like, he's got no help. And
I agree, but...
And they've kind of... I mean, first game was close. Second game wasn't close. But, I mean, again, they shouldn't win the series anyways, but he's gotten zero help.
I mean, I do agree. I think defensively, Luka's bad. And I think that I'm worried about that because I think defensively we look on Tatum's on a completely different team with actual players around him, but the defensive gap between Tatum and Luka is so massive, and the offensive gap, I mean, Luka's a better offensive player, and he can carry a bigger load offensively than Tatum would be able to, but I think Tatum's a more complete player.
See, I think Luka's comparison is to Jokic because they have to do so much offensively, scoring, passing, rebounding, that defensively they can't exert energy. While Tatum, one, he has a better team. You have Brown, you have Smart, you have Robert Williams. I mean, those are 3 all defensive type players, obviously defensive player of the year players. And again, Tatum is really good defensively. He is. But you can afford to still be really good offensively, but you have better pieces around you offensively and defensively. I think that matters. If Luka had, if Luka was built with a team that had maybe one or two other like consistent scorers, I can at least give you 20, like a Brunson, but more consistent. And then you had a couple really good defensive players on the inside. Like I think he would be better because you'd be better as a team. So again, will he ever be as good as Tatum defensively? I don't think he will, but he has to do so much offensively. I can't knock him for not playing good defense. I mean, I can't. I mean, Jokic isn't good defensively.
I agree, but we also look at Jokic, compare him to Embiid. I'm not saying that Tatum's Embiid in this case, but if we're making that comparison, Jokic isn't as good defensively as Embiid, and that almost makes it really hard to ever go Jokic over Embiid. And I'm probably more of a Jokic guy than an Embiid guy, but it's very hard for me to make that case because I don't know, maybe they're equal offensively, but then. Or maybe even Jokic is slightly better offensively, and as a playmaker, he's definitely better. But, I mean, the defensive gap is just too big for me not to go Embiid. The only reason I can go Jokic is because of the playmaking aspect and maybe like the consistency aspect, whether it's injuries or just Embiid kind of being a little that team being off. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't think today's like the reason. I just think I've been wanting to go Tatum over Luka for a bit now. And I think this gives me like the ability to make that switch. Whereas like if I just did it in the middle of the regular season when they were, I don't know, it's just like I'm making my switch now because if it has to be at some point, I can't just like, you know what I mean? Like I gotta. So I'm saying it's now. I don't know that like tonight's like yesterday was like the clear reason like that I'm making that switch like snap of a finger, but something that I've been thinking about. And I'm not gonna take Ja over Luka, but listen, I think there's a vibe, there's like a feeling around those aura around those players is completely different right now. And listen, maybe it's because the Grizzlies have an actual team around Ja and the Mavs don't. That could definitely be it. It could also be a little bit that Luka complains to the refs more than, I don't know, like he complains to the refs more than so many other players in this league. And everybody complains to the refs now in today's NBA. He does it always. So
I think one argument for the Ja Luka, and I know you're not picking Ja over Luka, but the Mavs won 4 less games than the Grizzlies, and Ja missed 25 games. I think they were like 22-3 or whatever it was, like 20-5 without him. I mean that's the argument. If Luka misses 25 games in a season, what are they? 5-20 in those games, you know? So
I mean, probably like 8-20 or 8-13 or 8 whatever. Yeah, something bad. Maybe not 5-20, but yeah, something.
You know, and again, they only won 4 less games than the Grizzlies, and like it seems like they're in the same year, and they are a better team. They have better players for sure. They only won 4 less games, but yeah, I mean that series is probably. I think the Mavs can win a game or two. I think if Brunson is just can give you 20 to 25, I think you can win one of those games. But he has to not shoot 6 of 16 and 4 of 17, and didn't win. He has to give you something. But yeah, and Luka's been fantastic these first 2 games. But
defensively he hasn't. But it's whatever.
Well, I don't even care about his defensive stats. But again, it's probably going to be Heat. It's probably going to be Suns. Going to tomorrow's game, Celtics, Bucks, Grizzlies, Warriors. For sure, the 2 more entertaining series is obviously. We'll start Celtics, Bucks. 3:30 start. It seems like they're always getting the afternoon games, but Celtics, Bucks again. Still no Middleton. He's out for the series. Bucks won game 1. Celtics kind of dominated game 2. Giannis has not been good, even though he's having a super impact on the game. His shooting efficiency has been awful. For someone who's super efficient, he's been awful. I think he was 9 of 26 in the first game, and he was not good in the second game. I think he was like 4 of 17 or something. But, I mean, obviously you're a Celtic fan. You obviously want the Celtics to win, but you still have the Celtics winning the series.
I mean, I picked Milwaukee in 7, if you remember.
Yeah.
I don't want to go on the record with any more like pick swaps because I don't want to jinx it. Like they've been playing super well. I didn't jinx it in the regular season or anything. I never jumped on the bandwagon during the regular season, so I'm not going to jump on it now. I'm going to stick with Milwaukee in 7. But the things I will say, the Celtics, I was concerned at their ability to defend Giannis, especially if Robert Williams wasn't fully healthy. But, I mean, they've done an incredible job, in my opinion, of defending Giannis so far, especially in Game 2. But even Game 1, even though they lost it, I think the ability to defend Giannis and get him off his game compared to the regular season and compared to the Bulls series, I think has clearly been there. We talk about the building a wall thing. I think they've done that pretty well. And I think no Middleton really helps them because it really allows the off-ball defenders, especially in the paint, to really just cheat. Versus Middleton, you have to respect them outside, even if I don't love Middleton. Without Middleton, it makes it a lot harder. It makes it a lot easier for some of these Celtics defenders to kind of cheat in the paint. And when Giannis looks like he's going to drive, it's really easy for them to build that wall and make him have to either really fight for a layup or a dunk, and take a contested paint shot, or settle for a mid range, which he's never really going to do because he's not a great mid range shooter. Or, if you live with the outside, if he takes a 3, you live with the outside shot. And that is what it is. Yeah, it hasn't been good so far. He hasn't really we've done a good job. We've done a good job of defending Giannis. I think a lot of it is because of no Middleton, but I think a lot of it is credit to Ime Udoka because, I mean, they've found their chemistry defensively. Obviously, they've been a top defensive team pretty much almost the whole year, and especially since, that New Year's mark. So, yeah, I mean, I'll stick with Milwaukee in 7, but I think the defensive showing from the Celtics has been great. Offensively, I mean, they obviously weren't good Game 1. Game 2, Jaylen Brown just had a monster game. Efficiency, he was like 9 for 10 at one point. That's just going to happen sometimes, and, that's just unfortunate for the Bucks. Obviously good for the Celtics. So I think it's still going to be a close series. I'd love to get a couple close games. Both of those games were not that competitive, especially game 2. It was really not competitive from the jump. So, and it was a game that I watched, but I didn't even have the feeling, even though I'm like kind of paranoid when the Celtics have a 20-point lead. I'm like, surely at some point, I didn't really feel like the Bucks were making a comeback at any point. It was a 20-point game almost the whole game through. So,
yeah, I think, and again, Marcus Smart didn't play game 2. He may play game 3. I guess it hasn't been anything said yet, but I think Giannis will have a monster game in game 3. He plays better at home than he does on the road. He averages about 3 more points per game, and it seems like he plays better. So I think he's going to have a really good game, like efficiency-wise, just impact-wise. But, yeah, I think the problem is, like, as soon as he starts being efficient, and can kind of just do what he wants, that's when the Celtics are probably going to go down because, again, the first 2 games they've been great at limiting him and just stopping him and forcing him to make bad decisions and turnovers, but it's still 1-1. They still took a game on the road, and now they're going home. Well, as soon as he figures it out, as soon as he can be efficient and just do what he wants, it's going to be tough for them because that's the whole thing. The whole thing is defense, and their offense hasn't been great so far, unless that picks up maybe. But I picked the Bucks anyways. I had them going into the Nets, but I had the Bucks, going to the finals. I'm still sticking with the Bucks. Again, I didn't obviously pick that before Middleton got injured, but I still like them without Middleton. To be honest, I think they're still a good team. So I still got Bucks too.
All right. I'm just going to do it. Whatever. I'm just going to pick the Celtics because, I've pretty much been saying I think the Celtics are going to win, but I'm going with the Bucks. I'll just pick the Celtics because if the Celtics win the finals, I don't want to have to be like I didn't pick the Celtics, even though I'm kind of picking them because I just said I'd take Tatum over Luka with the whole picking a young player thing, and the Celtics have a great team around them. I don't think they need Smart to win this series. I'm not really sure Smart actually is that helpful in this series. Obviously, you want Depoy. But it's kind of just like he was the best defensive player on the best defensive team thing. And there's really if it's not Smart, it's pretty much one of those perennial guys that's they don't even care about the award at that point. So, but I'm not sure. Smart's not defending Giannis really. I think he helps defensively, obviously. I don't think he's as crucial as he would be if Middleton was in this series. I think Smart would be a lot more crucial. If Smart comes back for game 3 and has one of his just off games from 3 where he's 0 for 6 from 3, 3 for 12 from 3 for 13 from the field overall, 10 points. I'm kind of scared of that, to be honest. I won't lie. I am kind of scared of that. And then defensively, if he's not adding that value, with Middleton there, then it's he's kind of a negative. I think I could easily see that happening in game 3, but I'm going to hope it's not. Obviously I'd rather him play than not. I'm just scared of that because that's a Marcus Smart thing. Yeah. But, yeah, I'll go Celtics. I'm just going to go Celtics. Initially I went Bucks in 7. I'll be honest, if I wasn't scared about jinxing it, I would have gone Celtics in probably 7 or 6, but I'll say that I switched now. I don't care. Whatever.
All right.
I'll go Celtics in 7. I honestly do think they're the better team, especially without Middleton. I think our ability to defend Giannis is pretty good. I think especially if we make it look like game 2 the rest of the series, I think it's a legit Celtics in 5. Because maybe even Celtics in 4. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I'm saying if we can defend Giannis like we did in Game 2, they have no hope. Because without Giannis offensively and a Middleton, what are they? They're nothing. So, yeah. But, I think Giannis will pop off in some of these games, which I do think is why it'll go 6 or 7. But I'll go Celtics. They're the better overall team, in my opinion. Tatum's emerged so much. Jaylen Brown is for sure the 3rd best player in the series. They may even have the 4th best player in this series because Drew Holiday is pretty inconsistent. I'm not saying Drew Holiday probably is the 4th best player in the series, but past the first 3, you're in that Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday territory where it's on average they're the 4th or 5th best player, but it's very inconsistent. So I think the Celtics are the better team. I'll go Celtics, but yeah.
All right. So last series, Grizzlies Warriors. Really entertaining first 2 games. Job basically won game 2 for them with 47. But game 3, no Dillon Brooks. It's going back to Golden State. No Dillon Brooks for his foul and Gary Payton. Obviously they have no Gary Payton either. But that's for the series. That's pretty big. loss for them because he was kind of the guy to guard Ja and like guard. And he was kind of just like the defensive guy that they had in there. Not going to give you a lot offensively, and if he did, that's a plus. But to not have him, I think it's the more impactful than maybe like you kind of want to think it is for someone like Gary Payton III. But again, no Dylan Brooks for this game, so we'll see. Ja's gonna have to have a monster game again. I think Warriors at home in a playoff game. That hasn't happened. I mean, I know they had the game against the Grizzlies last year in the play-in game, but they haven't had a home playoff game since the finals. When they lost Game 6 to the Raptors. So I think that's going to be giving a lot of momentum for them. We'll see how Clay is. We'll see how Steph is. But this is again. I had the Grizzlies. I had the Nuggets beating the Warriors, but I had the Grizzlies winning this series. Anyways, I still think they can. I think it's going to be tough. Ja's really going to have to be amazing the rest of it. He's gonna have to be amazing every single game, and I think he can, and I know he's someone who easily can do that, but it's gonna be tough. I don't know. This series again, I think it's gonna be a 7-game series, to be honest. I think it's gonna be back and forth every single game. Every single game's gonna have chippiness, physical play, just like guys getting flagrants, ejections, technicals all the time. It's gonna be back and forth, trash talking, everything like that. I think it's a great series. I'm still gonna go Grizzlies in 7, but the experience and veteran play that the Warriors have, I think, can topple what the Grizzlies are doing. And I think a big factor is Jaren Jackson. If he can just stay out of foul trouble and give you 20, then that's exactly what you need. But again, he's so bad at not fouling that it's tough. But I'm still gonna go Grizzlies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still going to go Warriors. I think the scary thing is I think I would agree losing Gary Payton is a loss. And I think it is a loss because of what you talked about. He's a guy that is just going to give you super high energy, fresh, over 20 minutes, probably defensive minutes versus Ja. That's probably all you're going to get in the regular season or against a team that is led by Giannis or a team that's led by KD. How important is that? Not important at all, really. But against a team that's led offensively by Ja Morant, that's a lot more important than it would be against one of those LeBron Cavs teams or pre-Kyrie, I guess, or like LeBron, a team that doesn't have like a great guard really. But I'm still gonna go Warriors. I think they're the better team. I think the Grizzlies are just a year or two away. I think they're pretty young. I think he's gonna be great. So I don't have any questions about that. I think this Memphis Grizzlies team is well rounded. I don't think it's good enough to beat the Warriors, though. My one scary thing is Draymond Green. And this doesn't necessarily just have to be for this series, but he needs one more flagrant 2. He's suspended for a game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think Draymond Green's a guy that I really like. Hall of Famer for sure. I don't know if the Warriors win one finals without Draymond Green. They probably do, but we don't know for sure. I'm scared. I'm scared about that because no Draymond, that's losing a lot, in my opinion. So, especially if it's against, like, the Suns, I think. It would really, really stink to lose Draymond in a game against the Suns. He's already arguably cost the Warriors one ring by getting suspended in game 6.
He got suspended game
6 of 2016. So, yeah, we will see. I like the Warriors still, but I am a little concerned because of the loss of Gary Payton, and then Draymond's just he needs to chill. Like, I don't know how else to word it. He needs to chill. So
yeah, but so you have Warriors, I have Grizzlies. You have Celtics, I have Bucks. The other two series are both the same. We both have Suns and Heat. But the next time that we probably meet, I kind of checked the schedule. Tuesday and Wednesday are Game 5s for both series with 76ers, Heat, Mavs, Suns on Tuesday, then Bucks and the Grizzlies on Wednesday. So maybe 2 of the series will be over. I guess technically all of them, or I guess only those could be over. The first 2, which I think it's a good possibility. Those series probably will be over on Tuesday night. Maybe one of them goes to Game 6, but. The other ones I think will both probably go to Game 7s. I think Celtics, Bucks, and Warriors, Grizzlies will go to Game 7s. I think the one that wouldn't, I think like the Warriors, Grizzlies has the more likelihood of going to a Game 6. But I think those are going to be really good series, and we'll find out at the end of next week. It looks like Friday is Game 6 for those series if necessary, and then Sunday would be a Game 7 for Bucks Celtics, and Monday would be Warriors Grizzlies. It's crazy that a playoff series can take 2 weeks to finish, but that's just how long it takes.
Yeah. But unless you have anything else to say, I guess that's it. So
yeah, that's it.
But I appreciate everybody for sticking to the end of this. If you are interested in anything on the second channel, feel free to check it out. We reacted to a Colin Cowherd thing would you rather have Giannis or this player in their prime? So we reacted to that. Some interesting takes on there. Obviously, you watched this episode. Other stuff probably on the second channel as well related to the draft. We talked about that a little bit, but feel free to check everything in that description. We'll be back. Appreciate all the support. Goodbye.